H9 day 1, we're revising the long E sound with 2 E's. So we've got G, R, E, D. You can colour these in as we go. K, R, E, P, creep, F, L, E, T, fleet, Sp, E, Ch, speech, P, E, L, wheel, K, at, N, canteen, T, E, N, canteen, freeway, freeway, freedom, freedom, beetroot, beetroot, zookeeper, zookeeper. Probably easier to read these as their syllables, as their parts. Okay, so we've got some other things in here too that you need to revise. So we know before the letter R, we use a C for the K sound. And we also use a C before an A, O, U, L or R, and we use a K before an E, I or Y. That's how you know whether to use a C or a K for the K sound. So down here we've got keeper, so the letter after the K sound is an E, so that tells us we must use a K before it. There. Speech, that ch sound you've been revising quite a bit, so that should be easy. So after a long vowel sound, E is a long vowel sound, we use CH, not TCH. Wheel, remember this is one of those words, so if you put your hand in front of your mouth when you say the word wheel, you can feel air after the W, so that means there's an H after the W in wheel. Now because we've got a long vowel sound there, as well as up here, we use one L at the end. If it was a short vowel sound, short word, we'd use 2, but this is a short word with a long vowel sound, we only put one L at the end. Canteen, oh look, you've got CA here, you know to use the C for the K sound, because if the letter after it is an A, we know to use the C before it for the K sound. Freeway, you've got the A sound at the end of a word. We know we only like to use AY at the end of a word because we don't like Y's in the middle of English words. Just be careful here on the way you say it. Freedom, that you do sound that correctly, because otherwise you might spell it incorrectly. Beetroot, you've got the double E for the long E sound, and you've also got the oo sound there, and the double O for the oo sound in zookeeper. Now this one ends with the so someone who looks after a zoo is a zookeeper. So tells us someone who. Now let's look at what these words mean. We've got greed, means when you have too much of something. That's greedy, and it displays greed. Creep is when you might walk on your tiptoes and you creep along very quietly. We often say a mouse will creep. Fleet is a group of ships or a fleet of cars, fleet of boats. It's like a group of vehicles. Speech is when you give a talk to an audience, and it's usually quite informative. A wheel is something you put on your bike or on a car. It usually has air in this rubber bit here in the tyre that stops you feeling all the bumps so much in the car. Canteen is where you can buy food or morning tea or lunch at school, and sometimes if you go to the football or one of your sporting events, they'll have a canteen there where you can get snacks throughout the day while you're playing sport. A freeway is usually a busy road. It's bigger than a normal street. It usually has many lanes on it to help the traffic flow freely, and usually you can go a bit faster on a freeway. Freedom means that you're free to do as you want, you're not bound by anything. Beetroot is a purple root vegetable that we can eat. They're really, really good for you, and you quite often can have them hot or cold. They're quite nice. A zookeeper, as we said before, is someone who looks after the zoo. Now let's read these words, sound them, spell them, and then write them. So we've got greed, 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 G-R-E-E-D, 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 cover it and then write it. Now I don't mind if you say that E sound by saying EE, or if you say double E, it doesn't matter. It's whatever rolls off your tongue the easiest. So let's do creep. C-R-E-P, 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 C-R-E-E-P, 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 C-R-E-E-P. If you were saying double, double means two, so we go C-R-E-E-P, C-R-E-E-P. You can choose which way you want to say that. You can sound the rest of those words and spell them, cover them. H9, day 2, we're revising the long E sound where we're using double E, two E's. So we've got g-r-eed, greed, k-r-eep, creep, f-l-eat, fleet, sp-each, speech, wh-e-l, wheel, canteen, freeway, freedom, beet, root, zoo, keep, Okay, so you can highlight the two E's in all of those words for the long E sound. Then you're going to read the word, sound the word, spell it and write it. So we've got greed, g-r-e-d, G-R-E-E-D, cover it and write it. Now you can choose whether you prefer to say double E or E-E. It's up to you. Okay, finish and write the word next to its meaning. We've got to put in all those double E's. And then here you have to find the word that means to move slowly. To be one of these words would be to creep. You can fill the rest of them in. Fill in the gap with the missing list word. The first arrived in Australia in the 18th century. We know from our discussion on day 1 that a fleet is a group of boats, so we would write fleet in there. So greed means when you want too much of something. Creep means to move slowly, we know. A fleet is a group of vehicles, which could be a boat. Speech is when you give a talk, a special talk usually. A wheel is something that we use on a vehicle to help it travel smoothly. Canteen might be where you buy lunch. A freeway is a road where the traffic can move usually freely and at a greater speed. Freedom is where you are free to do what you want. A beetroot is a root vegetable that's very good for us to eat. And a zookeeper is someone who looks after the animals in a zoo. Now on that wheel, don't forget you've got the H after the W, so if you say wheel, you can feel the air after the W and you know that there's an H there. Okay, you can continue on. H9 day 3, we're revising that two E's can make the long E sound in a word. So I've got g-r-eed, greed, k-r-eep, creep, f-l-eat, fleet, sp-each, speech, wh-e-l, wheel, canteen, canteen, freeway, freeway, freedom, freedom, beet, root, beetroot, zookeeper, zookeeper. Okay, let's read the word, sound the word, spell the word and write it. So we've got greed, g-r-e-d, G-R-E-E-D, cover it and write it. And that's the process I want you to go through for all of these words. Okay, make the new word and use it in a sentence. So you're going to make the new word and then you can work out what the sentence is going to be that you write there. Don't forget a capital letter at the start, full stop at the end of your sentence. You might put something like, I was so greedy at the party, I ate too much, or something like that. We've got creepy, greediness, creepily, greedily. Down here you've got comparatives and superlatives, so that's when we add or s to a word. So if we're comparing two things, we add to the end of a word to make it mean more. And when we're comparing a bigger group of things, bigger than two things, we call it a superlative or a supergroup. And we add est to say that it's the most of the group. So this is tricky because greedy ends with a Y. You have to, and there's a consonant before the Y, you have to change the Y to an I and then add your ER or your EST. So you would have you still need that sound in there, so you'd have greed-er. You can't just add the ER and get rid of the Y, because that would be greeder, and there's no such word as greeder or greedest. And we don't like Y's in the middle of words, so if there's a consonant before the Y, we know we can change it to an I before we add our suffix on. Okay, verb families, we'd have creep. In this line, you know you're adding the S. Creeps here, creeping, and usually here we add ED to the end of a word to mean it's already happened. But this one has an alert here, so you're not actually going to put creeped. What would you put? Crept. So you're going to drop the double E to one E, and then you're going to put a T at the very end. So it'd be C-R-E-P-T. Crept. Just as you sound it. If you get stuck, just sound it out and write down exactly what you hear. Fill in the gaps with a list word or extension. Nate something into the room, and I think it might be Nate crept into the room. You can finish those ones off on your own. It might be a base word, one of these list words, or it could be one of those words with something added to the end of it. So you're going to have to think very carefully here. H9 day 4, we're introducing you to prefixes and suffixes. So this is a prefix is where we add something to the start of a word, and a suffix is where we add something to the end of a word. So with prefixes we've got all that we're learning to add. Suffixes we're learning full, ness and less. So a prefix is a group of letters that are joined to the start of a base word. A suffix is a group of letters that are joined to the end of a base word. So if you get stuck, you can go back and read that. So make new words. Now the alert is one L is dropped from prefix all when adding it to a base word. So if you're going also, you only put one L in, you drop one L off. So just remember that when you're writing these, you're going to drop, when we want to write all together as a word, you only put in the one L in all when you're adding it as a prefix to a base word. Okay, so then you have to use those words that you've made up there to fill in the gaps in these sentences. Tom invited me to the beach, but I was something going. I was already going. So make sure you only put one L in when you add all to ready and fill it in there. Now the suffixes, we've got the suffixes full, less and ness. Now when you want to add full to the end of a word, you drop one L, so you're only writing F-U-L. But when you're writing less or ness on the end of a word, you keep the double S in both of those. So it's just something you're going to have to remember. So if you're writing thoughtful, you put the full in there, but you're only writing it with one L. Then down here it says fill in the gap with words from the word bank. Here are our word bank. Kindness, openness, happiness, laziness, forgiveness. If you hurt someone, you should ask for forgiveness. So you'd have to write that word in there. You can work out the rest of these missing words in the sentences on your own and finish that page.